Hey there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse. As you can tell, we're in a new location, but it's Billboard BREAKDOwn. I don't remember. This is one of those weeks where I'm grateful for small blessings. New backdrop for my new studio where I'm still getting everything configured. It's gonna take a bit of time before I get everything back up to my standard, so naturally Billboard gave me a bit of a slowdown week, and given the timeline, I might even have a bit more breathing room next week too. We'll have to see. Just as wish this week was actually good. But in the meanwhile, our top 10, where to the surprise of nobody, Ordinary by Alex Warren is still holding that number one. A rebound on sales, rock solid streaming, and while the peak on the radio is kind of wavering, its margin there is so robust there's nothing really about to challenge it. But that's not stopping Golden from the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack from trying at number 2, dominant on streaming, right behind Ordinary on sales, but when radio refuses to touch it, the margin required to get any higher isn't that surmountable, at least not yet. We did see a gain for What I Want by Morgan Wallen featuring Tate McRae at number 3, where the streaming is strong and it's got radio, but the growth there is so painstakingly slow that I don't see it really making the run it should as I've gone over week after week. It did pull ahead of Daisies by Justin Bieber down at number 4, but that might be because the song saw streaming losses, and despite a tangible radio push, it's not quite in contention just yet. Target the music video to impact the charts in maybe 2 to 3 weeks, it could well get there. And it was enough to hold over Just In Case by Morgan Wallen at number 5, which saw some slight streaming losses as Nashville radio's dumping it, which might be where Love Me Not by Raven Lenae could make a run beyond number 6. The radio push is certainly there, but she actually saw streaming losses this week, which might be troubling if she wants to make that proper ascent. Now that takes us to Goddamn Lose Control by Teddy Swim, still at number 7, where it's seeing losses across the board, just not enough compared to a bar song Tipsy by Shabuzi at number 8, which is more dependent on radio and is also losing there in a heavier margin. Now this opens up the door for our second K-pop Demon Hunters song with Your Idol at number 9, basically running up the score on streaming and pretty much nothing else. And yet it was still enough to beat any of the radio for Die With A Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars at number 10, and radio is basically all it has at this point. Now this naturally takes us to our losers and dropouts, where even in a weak post-album bomb, we didn't see that many of the latter, beyond Anxiety by Doechii handily clinching a year-end list spot for her natural exit. But it is post-album bomb for Tyler the Creator, and while he held some sustainability on the Hot 100, he naturally saw a lot of losers as well. Sugar on My Tongue at 51, Big Poe with Pharrell at 59, I'll Take Care of You with Yebba at 66, Sucka Free at 73, Don't You Worry Baby with Madison McFerrin at 82, Stop Playing With Me at 95, Momonim at 97, and Don't Tap the Glass Tweakin' at 99. Outside those, well, Justin Bieber had losses with Go Baby at 89, Madeline with Zach Bryan and Gabriella Rose lost off the debut to 96, as did Eternity by Alex Warren at 50, and Apartment by Rose and Bruno Mars looks like it's naturally on its way out at 45. So what's filling up those spots? Well, sadly we got nothing good coming out of our returns, where Fuerza Regida got back both Marlboro Rojo at 91 and Tu Sancho at 100, and Tate McRae brought back Revolving Door at 92, but the truly egregious cut is Morgan Wallen got that godforsaken cynical atrocity of a song Miami all the way back to 21, mostly through a remix with Lil Wayne and Rick Ross. I'd say this is where artistic integrity might come in and everyone would say no to this, but come on, it's with these three, not even remotely surprising. No, the bigger story is the sudden swarm of gains we got, so let's start off with the debuts that picked up traction from last week. Strategy by Twice at 74, and Fresciencia by Deres de la Sierra at 83. Then we saw the return surging, Better Me For You Brown Eyes by Max McNown up big to 62, No Broke Boys by Disco Lines and Tinashe at 75, Bar None by Jordan Davis at 80, Nice to Meet You by Miles Smith at 86, and Somewhere Over Laredo by Lainey Wilson at 87. Then we actually saw some continued gains, although I got some skepticism on how high any of them are going to go. Folded by Kalani up big to 54, Twilight Zone by Ariana Grande back at 70, and Party For You by Charlie XCX at 71. Finally, a couple songs that could surge, although I'm not sure why anyone would want Rather Lie by Playboi Carti and The Weeknd to stick around more at 85, or even Wildflower by Billie Eilish at 55. That song should be off the charts by now, Billboard. I'm gonna keep calling out your recurrency failures. It's not hard to follow your own rules. But at least Back to Friends by Somber held at 32. Promising maybe, he's been one of the brighter spots in a dismal 2025 on the Hot 100. But hey, maybe these sparse new arrivals could make some positive waves. Well, number 84, Park by Tyler Hubbard.
Goodness, I see why we making these tires green in this old car. All I wanna do is park. All I wanna do is park.
It's odd, I hadn't thought about Tyler Hubbard at all for a while since his brief stint of solo hits a couple of years back, but given that 5'9" is still a terrific song, I'm standing on that. I was mostly curious where this might go, given that it's a charting well over a year after first showing up on that album that I'm sure all of you remembered existing. And honestly, this one was kind of up and down for me. I like the slick guitar rollick and the percussion patter that blended pretty well into the pedal steel, but I couldn't stand the very obvious auto-tune smothering Hubbard's vocal mix where he honestly doesn't need it. And the song's got some scale and driving momentum, and it feels bigger, and that makes sense for what's largely a driving song. But even then, it's the same bro country template that for as much as he wants to drive with this girl, he'd rather park. I mean, I get the euphemism, but anchoring your attempted hookup and stopping all motion feels like fumbling the metaphor completely. And yet again, the groove's slick, it's pretty sticky, not bad, it's just got too many problems to be that good either. That's all. Number 43, It Depends by Chris Brown featuring Bryson Tiller.
Come give me hell, come here. Your fairy tale, under your spell I am. She gets Chanel, oh well it all depends.
Oh, perfect. We weren't done with Chris Brown after the train wreck that was Holy Blindfold, and apparently what's now needed is a healthy dose of Bryson Tiller along with him, trying for his umpteenth career revival. So who the hell told them that hopping on this shuddering yet weirdly undercomposed drill progression is what they needed around this gauzy synth that you can barely hear beyond the heavier synthetic vocal overdubs? God, it annoys me that they're allergic to a more organic vocal pickup or blending, but also anchored in a very prominent post-chorus sample of Usher's Nice and Slow. Why are you reminding me of someone that I would much rather hear from Chris Brown? That seems like a bad idea. As for the song itself, well, it's a sex jam where they feel so enticed up until there's a desire to commit more fully, and you can tell by the first verse Brown is looking for the exit. I guess I done run out of options. What a romantic there, where it culminates in Chris Brown deciding to finally take the condom off to really commit. I mean, at least Bryson Tiller just plays in murky ambiguity surrounding the cheating that he's helping initiate. Brown is specific to the point, it's just gross. So yeah, no depends about it. I don't care for this at all. Next, number 38, Back in the Saddle by Luke Combs.
On his hair, climbed up and took hold of the reins. Don't worry where I've been, I'm back in the saddle again.
Okay, I'll put aside my general annoyance that Luke Combs didn't really push Fathers and Sons the way he could have. That album was legit great neo-traditional country music, probably his most thematically focused to date. I think it is his best. I'm confident he could have made it work even if it would have been an uphill battle compared to all the other singles he was pushing around the same time. But this looks to be tied into an upcoming album, and okay. Look, my colleague Todd in the Shadows once coined the term "I'm back, bitch" as a single, and of the people I did not expect to make one, Luke Combs was high on that list, and the way he does it is Well, weird. The stiff, bluesy jingle around the swampy electric funk rollick that had me checking to see if Jay Joyce produced this, especially as it feels more thin and clean to blend in with the rest of the mix. That ascending guitar solo that doesn't quite hit the climax I think Combs thinks it does, an underpowered groove, and him driving into a lot of Western-focused cliches to drive the power back into the jam that barely has any flavor beyond being loud and imposing. Again, it's an I'm Back Bitch single. I mean, it's not exactly bad for what it is, but what it is feels so hollow, especially in comparison with what Luke Combs has done for his past 3 or 4 albums. Yeah, very much underwhelmed by this. Can't say I'm gonna go back to it. And finally, number 23, Which One by Drake and Central C.
And I get too stiff cause I think so round, good God. Make me lift up your gown, but your face so sweet. Wanna spin you around. If I go link gang, I'll bring you around. If I go to the bar, I'll bring you around.
Let's be real, the song was inevitable the second Drake tried to put UK MCs on a pedestal in comparison with those in the US who emphatically rejected him. And I think they may have rejected him in Europe as well, if those stories about him getting pelted by toilet paper and water bottles in London and Amsterdam are actually true. But it makes sense. For some reason, people keep putting Central C on features. Despite him being profoundly uninteresting, Drake was sure to get on board. Hell, you could argue that Drake at one point was ahead of the curve with UK hip-hop off of More Life. Here, it feels like he's kind of playing catch-up. And look, if you're expecting the most obvious pivot for Drake to cross into that tone, it's this. The flagrantly fake accent, the minimalist bass around the spare rattle, and the creaking static until it flips into a chillier bounce, the deliberate callback to Work from nearly a decade ago on the third verse. I truly hope none of this was directed at Rihanna. He's clearly trying something there, given the rest of the references on the verse, but also trying to accentuate that he's making the song for the girls, which nobody else can really do like him in this scene. So of course they should choose him and Central C, and nobody really still buys this, right? You can argue Drake's made more music for the manosphere than the girls the past 5 years, and I truly despise the condescending girls don't like music with lyrics, they just want to dance nonsense that the doofs on hip-hop Twitter perpetuate instead of actually going outside. It's not like Central C is adding anything beyond a lazy 50 Cent reference, hashtag rap saying that this girl's ass weighs her down 1 ton, and then the line, I got a chopstick for your wonton. So no, this feels cynical and cheap, and a sign that Drake's juice for this whole Iceman project is running out fast. So he has to spin up a campaign with DJ academics to discredit Anthony Fantano for material addressed nearly a decade ago, when I don't think he's credibly addressed his own nonsense from just last year. So yeah, it sucks. There's no choice to be made. And that's our short week. Man alive, not a lot of quality, especially as both of our male duets are utter crap. So yeah, what the hell, Which One by Drake and Central C? It's gonna tie for the bottom spot with It Depends by Chris Brown and Bryson Tiller. The best, I guess Park by Tyler Hubbard, for at least it kind of gets the groove right, if very little else. And again, not saying much. Thankfully, we should have new Chaperone coming next week. Please stay tuned for that, especially as I get more of my setup up and running, potentially a new backdrop, we'll have to see. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you